Hi class, this is course 3, lesson 56. Today we are going to talk about the slope-intercept equation of a line. Okay, so we already know that we can write equations for lines, or if given an equation, you can find the XY ordered pair coordinates and graph them to get the line. Well, we're going to make that process just a little bit easier today. Slope-intercept equation looks like this. It's y equals the slope times x, so it's slope x plus the y-intercept. Or you may see it like this, and this is how I refer to it. Slope-intercept equation is y equals mx plus b, and m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay, now y-intercept is exactly what it means. It's intercepting. The line is going to intercept the y-axis. So we need to find the point that that line intercepts the y-axis. And in this example here, we are intercepting right there. So that point is 0, 2. So our y-intercept is the point 0, 2. Okay? And our slope, remember we have to figure out how far over and up we go. So I'm going to make the little triangle, and if we can determine the distance that we go over, that's 1, and the distance we go up is 3. And remember that slope is always the vertical, the up versus the over. So it's a fraction that is the up and down over the left and right. Okay, and just looking at this line, you know that the slope needs to be positive because the line goes up. Okay, so that means that our slope is 3 over 1, or just 3. So let's put this all together. If we wanted to write the equation for this line in slope-intercept form, we would start with y. It's always going to be y equals, what was our slope? Our slope was 3. And then it's always going to be an x. And then this part here, we either do a plus or we do a minus. And then we use the coordinate. We don't worry about the 0. And this is a positive 2, so we're going to put plus 2. And that is the equation in slope-intercept form. It crosses the y-axis at 2, and it has a slope of 3, so we would go up 3 and over 1, or over 1 and up 3. Okay? Alright, so let's take a look at several graphs, and let's see if we can figure out where they cross the y-axis, what the slope is, and what the equation of the line would be. So if you pause the video now, you can determine what these all would be and see if you are correct. This line crosses the y-axis at the point 0, or the ordered pair 0, 0, but we're only concerned with the y-coordinate. So it'd be 0. And our slope is up 1 over 1, so our slope is 1. So our equation would be y equals x. Now, this could be plus 0, but we don't write that. Okay? Well, you know what I'm trying to say. This would be, I'll do it over here, y equals x plus 0. But we're adding 0, so we don't actually put that on there. And that's why we get y equals x. And it's really 1x, but again, with a 1 as a coefficient, we don't write that. So that's how you get y equals x. The second graph, we are crossing the y-axis at the point at 2, where y equals 2, and we have a slope of up 1 over 1, so it would be, again, 1. So this one, slope is 1, your y-intercept is plus 2, and so you get y equals x plus 2. The third graph, again, we are crossing at y equals 0, and our slope is up 2 over 1, so our slope would be 2, and so you would have y equals 2x. Slope, again, this one would be y equals 2x plus 0, but we don't need that plus 0, and that's why we get just 2x. Okay, so just looking at these top 3 lines, we could tell that we had positive slope, so we knew that we should end up with a positive slope in our answer. If you look at this graph, you can tell that it has a negative slope. It slopes down. We're crossing the y-axis at the point -1, and our slope would be, let's see, we went down 1 and over 2. So down 1 over 2 would be -1/2. So we have slope of -1/2, a y-intercept of -1, and when we put that all together, y equals your slope x plus your y-intercept. But again, since our y-intercept is negative, we put -1. Okay, and we've talked about that, where this is really the same thing as x plus a -1, but we don't have to write it like that. This -1 becomes the subtraction sign, and that's fine. Okay, this line here, it's a horizontal line, and you should know that when you have a horizontal line, your slope equals 0. And we cross the y-axis at the point 2, so if you put that together, you end up with y equals 2. Now, why is there no x? Well, if you put y equals 0x plus 2, 0 times x ends up being nothing, so we don't put that on there. So it ends up being just y equals 2. Now, your vertical line, you should know that m, or your slope, is undefined. Okay, so there is no y-intercept. This one's tricky. You cannot use slope-intercept form. Okay, and I'm going to reveal, and we'll talk about why. Your slope is undefined. Every point has the x-coordinate -3. Okay, so if I use this point over here, it'd be -3, like 6. -3, 0. -3, -3. So every point has the x-coordinate -3. So that's the constant, and it's x equals -3. That's the equation for this line. And we cannot use the slope-intercept form for a vertical line because there is no y in the equation. Okay, remember, these are all y equals something times x plus b plus your y-intercept. So I don't have a y-intercept, and I don't have I don't even have a slope. I have an undefined slope. So we're writing vertical lines are always x equals, and horizontal lines are always going to be y equals. Okay, so if you're given an equation, y equals -4x plus 3, here are 2 questions you can answer. Where does the graph of the equation cross the y-axis? Okay, so now this is time for you to realize that this is y equals slope x plus your y-intercept, or y equals mx plus b. And remember that this part of the equation tells you where you cross the y-axis. So it would be at the point 0, 3. Does the line rise from the right or fall to the right? So they're asking you if it goes like this or if it goes like this. So what are they really asking you? They're asking you if your slope is positive or if the slope is negative. And so we're going to look right here at the mx, the number times the x. And since that is negative 4, we are going to have a line that falls to the right. Okay, so we know a lot about the line just by looking at it, just by looking at the equation. Okay, now we're going to graph two lines. They're y equals mx plus b, or y equals slope x plus the y-intercept, and we're going to graph them. So I'll do one in red and one in blue. So this is how you graph these lines. First, we know a point. So we're going to plot that point. The y-intercept, the place where the line crosses the y-axis, is at 3. So we put a nice dot there. And then we have to use the slope. Okay, and remember, this is going to tell you negative 1 over 3 is the distance that you go up or down, your rise over your run, the horizontal movement. So we need to go down 1, negative 1, down 1, and over 3. So we would go down 1 and over 3, and then we would put our other point. Okay, and we can repeat that again. We don't have to, because if we do it once, we get another point, and you can draw a line through 2 points. And now I have 3 points, and then you draw a line. And remember, when you draw lines, they have arrows on both ends. So let me see if I can get these through there. There we go. It's close. It's not perfect like it should be, but it's close. Okay, so there's your line 1. We have a slope of negative 1/3. It goes downhill if we were looking at it, and it crosses the y-axis at the point positive 3. Okay, so let's take a look at the blue graph that we're going to draw. Our slope is 2, which means 2 over 1, and our y-intercept is negative 5. You take the sign with the number. So the first thing you do is put a point. Plot the point on the y-intercept, negative 5. So on the y-axis, I go to negative 5 and I put a point. And then I need to apply the slope. And the slope, remember, it's 2 up and 1 over, and it's positive. So keep that in mind. We're going to go up 2 and over 1 and put a point. And we're going to go up 2, over 1, and put another point. And then we'll draw the line. Okay, there you go. That would be how you would graph lines if you're given slope-intercept form. So you're going to have to really try to remember that if you get an equation that looks like y equals a number and then x plus or minus a number, that's slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Commit that to memory. You will use it a lot. So that's how we can write equations in slope-intercept form. or we can graph equations in slope-intercept form. So you'll get some practice with that in class, and I'll see you then.